So, Texas A&M trooper who pointed at players has been reassigned. All right, I saw this video. Um, I'm really anxious to hear what it is, or I should say, excited to hear your thoughts on it, Q. Um, with all sports related stuff, right? But I didn't like this video. I'm gonna say it, man. I'm gonna say it.
You're
I
gonna like
didn't
it
like
even
this.
less after I describe all of what happened. You're gonna like it even less.
Okay, I'll wait. But I didn't like this video, and here's why. The players that ran into the tunnel, because for folks that haven't seen the tunnel, some football players ran into a tunnel, and then when they ran out of the tunnel, there was a police officer, and he like shoulder checked the players, and then he turned around and like pointed and yelled at them. Right. So that's it. That's the whole video. And the players were black and the police officer was white. And it's troubling to see it happen. I don't know what they were talking about. I don't know the first thing about this stuff. Couldn't tell you. The video was 2 seconds long, right? But it just looked super icky. All right. So I'm going to read this for the first time because Q sent this to me. He said that this was the right one for us to use for today's show. So this comes from ESPN, and you'll know what I know, and then we'll hear from Q. All right, again, ESPN. Texas A&M said a state trooper who made contact with South Carolina players during Saturday's game has been relieved of his game day duties after receiver Nick Harbor caught an 80-yard touchdown pass late in the second quarter. He grabbed his right leg and then walked it off up the tunnel with Oscar Adaway III following. As they turned to walk back to the field, a Texas state trooper bumped into Adaway and wedged between him and Harbor, and then turned and pointed at the players, seemingly scolding them. Harbor was quickly pushed away by his teammate, and they continued to the field. Quote, the Texas Department of Public Safety is aware of the incident that occurred today during the Texas A&M football game. Unquote, the DPS said in a statement. The statement goes on to say, the DPS trooper involved was sent home from the game. Our office inspector general is also aware of the incident and will be further looking into the matter. No additional information will be released at this time, unquote. Okay, so that's what happened. I saw the video. It just felt... Oh, let me say this too before you go, Q. I thought, okay, these football players are probably not from the city where this game is being played, right? Because where the game is being played, that police officer probably lives there. So these football players that ran into this tunnel are not the home team. So I thought that too. And I think I wasn't, I don't know. I wasn't, but anyway, go ahead. I thought that. So your thoughts, Q.
So first of all, you thought that correctly.
Okay, good.
The home team, the South Carolina Gamecocks, are the visiting team.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot to unpack here. It doesn't seem like it, but there is, because the innocence in your eye didn't think there was anything wrong with an officer being present in the first place.
Okay.
I thought that would be your first question. Why is there an officer in the game?
Oh, now that you mention it, though, yeah, I guess you're right.
Why is he there? Why is there an officer right then?
Signed, yeah.
In the game is going. The game is happening right now. It's not the end of the game when fans are coming in and out. This is not the beginning of the game when fans are coming in and out. This is on the field time where there's something else going on. Yeah. The kid just scored a touchdown. That means the game is actively happening right now. There's no reason for there to be a state trooper present on the field at that point at all. Then you might think, well, the state trooper was just walking up the tunnel at the same time that those guys were walking down. Well, again, if you weren't watching the game and didn't know that a touchdown just got scored, maybe you could lean to that kind of general position of understanding. But then if you watch the video, because the camera cuts back to the kids coming back down the tunnel after the touchdown, the officer appears to be walking up the tunnel. Now, the tunnel is wider than 3 people. So the route that he took, even if he was on his way to the back for something, it wouldn't have made any sense to try to squeeze in between those players anyway. But what you notice after he intentionally raises his elbows and arms and shoulders to intentionally shoulder check both players and then turn around and scold them, he simply just walks back the direction that they are walking, which means he was not even on his way up the tunnel to go anywhere.
He was going to go get them.
Only reason he was present was to almost assault these black players and try to instigate some further physical action.
Okay.
If these kids aren't level-headed, Ramses, and that player doesn't push his teammate like, man, let's just go, don't worry about it. What happens if they push him back? Now they've assaulted an officer and they're criminals, and he, like, it could have went
fear for his life and shoot him dead.
Go far.
Yeah.
So there's part of it that you kind of laugh at and look at as ridiculous, but that could have gone really far.
Yeah.
Because your natural inclination as a man, if you're walking and another man walks up and shoves you, is to shove him back at least.
Yeah.
Unprovoked for no reason.
Yeah.
So everything about that officer's presence doesn't match, doesn't fit, doesn't make sense. And watching that very quick video, there's just a lot of conclusions that general spectators won't draw. There is no reason for there to be a officer present during gameplay in the field of play. If he was coming down the tunnel as they went up, maybe that would have made sense, because he, could justifiably not know what just happened, be coming back from, restricted area in the stadium. And then, okay, we just made a mistake. We were in the same spot. This officer knew in very plain view that a touchdown had just been scored, that there were players from the opposite team, like you pointed out. They were not A&M players. They were South Carolina players, and inserted himself there to cause a problem.
Okay, let me say this. I'm going to play devil's advocate. I want you to speak on it. Once upon a time, you told me, I don't think we talked about it on the show, but you told me there was a football game and they got in a fight after the football game. Like the teams got in a fight or maybe before the football game or during, I don't know. But that was a big deal. So devil's advocate, maybe they have police there because these guys are really in shape and there's 100 of them and they're all going to fight. So I want you to weigh in there. But let me say this, because I think that this is really where my brain went. I just don't, like, I can see a police officer running up and saying whatever he wants to say, go back on the field, blah, 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 right? I can see that happening to any football player, and there's nothing to see here. Let me stick the landing, because I think you're going to like this part. But I think the shoulder check part, I don't see that part unless it's from a different team and the players are black. All right, go ahead.
Well, that would land better if the first part makes sense. That didn't make any sense either.
Okay,
no
help me out.
Police officer would just show up and tell players to go back on the field during a football game. It doesn't make any sense. Police officers being present at the game makes all the sense in the world.
Okay.
Police officers inserting themselves in the
into
game.
Gameplay.
That would never happen.
Right.
No officer would ever go say, get back on the field.
That's a referee's job, right?
And it wasn't players from opposite teams. If players from both teams went up there and somebody just went to like be security and make sure it didn't escalate, sure. These were teammates after scoring a touchdown. So even then, there's no even benefit of the doubt, devil's advocate. Mm-hmm. There's no reason for there to be an officer present there, not walking toward the players back up into the tunnel, only to shoulder check them and then turn around and just walk back the other way. Like he wasn't even on his way somewhere. He only was present to do
that. Do you see, because again, you could see a police officer run into a tunnel and it'd be weird, but it wouldn't make headlines. It wouldn't, it wouldn't be on ESPN maybe, right? It'd be just like, what's that guy doing? What a weirdo. And they could do that with any other team, whatever. But a police officer shoulder checking them. Can you imagine that happening with white players?
The reason you can't imagine it is because it never happens.
Right. That's what I'm saying. So that's why I felt so icky when I first saw it. I was like, oh, what is this? You know what I mean? So I know that you would see it that way, but I wonder if other people, like, how they compare Obama to Trump. And they're like, Trump does all this stuff. You would have never let Obama do this. And then people are like, well, I mean, and they always got something to say about it, right? And they always accuse us of seeing race and everything. But I'm like, man, it'd be so inconsistent. Why would a police officer go and slam his shoulder into, I'm guessing these are young men, college age, so early 20s,
teenagers,
maybe,
more
late
than
teens?
likely teenagers.
Yeah. So these, based on my age, they're kids. An adult police officer with a gun on his belt insert himself into gameplay, as you mentioned, Q, and then go and shoulder checking someone who has that sort of self-righteousness, that God complex, that perceived authority. And then how do they wield it? Over what groups do they wield it? Right? Exactly. Q is touching the back of his hand because he has brown skin. So that's what I'm imagining. So anybody else, I don't know if that's true or not, but if you have any thoughts, feel free to share them.